Hello, this is Eric Tars, Human Rights Program Director at the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, with this final wrap-up edition of the U.S. Universal Periodic Review in Geneva. Today, the Human Rights Council issued its final report of 228 recommendations to the U.S. government that it will now have to take into consideration. I gave an initial report back immediately after the Council session on Friday, where I noted the majority of countries recommended U.S. ratification of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, as well as other human rights treaties, reaffirming that the U.S. government is standing outside the global consensus on creating a rights-based approach to our economic recovery with regards to housing, jobs, healthcare, and education. In addition, there were a number of other consistent recommendations that were raised. First, that the U.S. should create an independent national human rights institution in line with the so-called Paris Principles to help implement human rights domestically and provide a forum for discussion of human rights issues. Advocates at the Human Rights at Home campaign have suggested an executive order recreating an interagency working group on human rights, as well as revamping the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights to include a human rights mandate as methods of meeting this goal. Second, there was a strong emphasis on abolishing the death penalty for all, as well as juvenile life without parole sentences. These are both areas where the U.S. stands outside of the global consensus and are stains on our record as we seek to promote human rights abroad. Finally, the need to close Guantanamo Bay and provide detainees with full due process rights emphasized how we have lost our leadership on basic rule of law issues. Obama's steps to close Guantanamo were recognized, but until it is closed and habeas rights are ensured for all prisoners, this too will remain a blot on our record. In the afternoon, following the review, the U.S. held a so-called town hall meeting with advocates in Geneva, which was video-linked to additional personnel in Washington, D.C. This was the first opportunity for NGOs to publicly debate human rights with personnel not just from the State Department, but from the Departments of Justice, Housing, Labor, Interior, etc., and represents a milestone for the integration of human rights into our domestic policy. At the town hall, dialogue ranged from Native American land rights to political prisoners, from Guantanamo Bay to the creation of a new human rights institution. Although HUD did not send representatives to be in Geneva in person, Assistant Secretary Trezvina participated via web link, and HUD issued a statement noting the importance of the UPR process to informing our domestic efforts on ensuring the right to housing. In response to some media critiques of our participation in this process, I also wanted to emphasize that we did not go to Geneva to make the U.S. look bad. In fact, it's precisely because we believe the U.S. should be a beacon to the world and lead by example on human rights that we felt it was essential to participate in the process. But with families losing their homes or people being arrested just because of their skin color, we know that the beacon is dim. Sharon Hanshaw of Gulf Coast Women for Change puts it this way.
I'm thankful to be here. Number one, I'm so thankful to be here because I believe that a change can happen through our voices. And when I think about Hurricane Katrina, which I experienced with thousands of other people, but when I think about the unjust of the government visiting the coast and saying, okay, here's enough, and we're going to go back and we'll visit again, and this is enough, but it's not enough. When I go out into my community, Ward 2 in Biloxi, Mississippi, and see this greenery where houses were, and see these steps leading to nowhere, and talk to these residents that used to live there, and they're saying, I have to pay a mortgage on this. But the fact that you have to pay for something that's not there anymore and try to find somewhere else to live is unconstitutional. It doesn't make sense. And that's when the government has to come in and say, you know something, where all these houses were, let's just forgive these loans. Forgive these loans. Allow these people to live. Because when you take that mechanism from people, you're saying you're unworthy and you shouldn't be living in safe housing. You should just lie down under the bridge, just as long as you're not too close to the casinos because people will see you.
The governments of Brazil, Canada, Ghana, Guatemala, Morocco, North Korea, and Thailand all specifically reference the need for additional affordable housing, particularly in communities of color. We have many good programs in place, but they are underfunded or underimplemented. Until we truly adopt the view that adequate affordable housing is a human right, we can't be the leaders we say we want to be.
We're not saying, build a shelter. We have this shelter in Biloxi because of Hurricane Katrina, they're going to be here forever. That's not the case. We're saying, have a shelter to help people be warm, help people be secure, help people get healthy food, let them feel better about their life. They will get jobs then. And once you start that poverty elimination, people will see you as the friendly people that you say You are. People connect.
In the end, this UPR process produced three major outcomes. The first is the education of thousands of advocates from across the country in human rights standards and procedures, including the bringing in multiple delegations of directly affected victims of human rights violations to Geneva to experience the process firsthand. The second is the education of dozens of government officials who were engaged in the consultations, report writing, and the Geneva presentation and town hall. We now have numbers of officials, highly placed in their agencies, who are aware of the human rights standards and acknowledge that they have a role in implementing them, and we've already scheduled follow-up meetings with many of them. Finally, though the effects may not be felt for some time to come, we have substantially changed the dialogue around human rights in the U.S. Individuals on the government delegation indicated that on issues ranging from the death penalty to economic and social rights, there's new significant debate within the administration because of this process. So while our work in Geneva may be done, our work here at home is just beginning. And so it's appropriate that I end by saying not good night from Geneva, but good morning from right here at home in the US.